The novel begins in Boston in 1903. A young Harvard-educated obstetrician whose career is on the rise becomes dangerously attracted to a patient. She's an opera singer. She comes to him for help in conceiving a child, and the doctor finds himself so drawn to her that he takes a great moral risk, and it's a secret that he can share with no one. I can remember the first time I ever heard about the Erica character in the novel. I was 19 years old. It was midnight, and I was lying in the arms of a young man I hardly knew. Later, he became my first husband. His grandfather had just recently died. And he said, you know, when my grandfather was a little boy, his mother deserted him. She left her husband, and she left her small son, and went off to Italy to become an opera singer. And when I heard that, I was just amazed at the thought that a privileged woman in Boston at the beginning of the last century would have dared to do such a thing. Well, early on in our marriage, my husband and I moved to Boston. And every day on my way to work, I passed by the house where Erica had grown up. And I used to go up sometimes to the front window, and I'd cup my hands against the glass and I'd peer inside, and there was a grand staircase, and I thought about how her fiance must have come to this door when he was courting her, and he'd enter and he'd start to walk up the staircase, and he must have heard her beautiful operatic voice echoing down the stairwell from the parlor upstairs. I think if Erica had lived today, a lot of her anguish and guilt would have been very similar to what is described in the novel. But I think that society and the legal system would have been much more supportive about her remaining in contact with her son. I absolutely loved doing the research. I loved sifting through hundreds of pages of family letters and reading about these exotic countries that had been so much a part of the lives of these ancestors. I loved finding out about the history of medicine and fertility, and the arias that Erica sang were absolutely gorgeous and really nourished my soul and my senses as I listened to them. In The Doctor and the Diva, several people commit unthinkable acts, and I've always been interested in the challenge of delving into a character's situation with enough empathy so that you might see why a choice that a character made would be understandable.